I don't think I'll head back after all.
But the game will start without you.
I'll just hide in here with you.
Hide in the bed?
You mind?
Izumi was a useless failure who's had bad luck all his life. However, everything changes when the most popular girl in school dates him and becomes his dummy mommy, who will do anything to protect him from the world. It all started on the first day of his second year, while he prepared to leave early so he could go to school with his girlfriend. His parents bade him farewell as he hurriedly left home, and his mom told him to watch out for rocks and cars and be safe, but the idiot stumbled on a rock as soon as he stepped out. On his way, trucks oozed smoke on his useless face, and this bird came to poo directly on him out of the whole area. As he tried to dodge the precisely in poop, he hit a rope and fell on the ground. He soon met a grandma crossing a road and decided to help her, but this only made him late, so he took to his heels and later met his cute girlfriend, Shikimori, who was already waiting for him. As it walked to school, she noticed his messed up appearance and asked if he had a rough morning again as usual. He told her not to worry as he was already used to bad luck, and then thought aloud about how cute she was, even though sometimes she wasn't. Shikimori became pissed as she heard this, and he quickly apologized for the slip. However, another bad luck was waiting for him as an incoming vehicle almost dispatched him to Nirvana, but Shikimori quickly saved him. He apologized for always involving her in his bad luck episodes, and asked if she was okay. However, she pulled his face in as she told him he didn't have to always apologize and told him to stop worrying about her so much, which is to me found so cute. Getting to school, he saw a crowd by the school's notice board checking to see their new classes, and assumed he became nervous because he feared they would be put in different classes. He began praying to the anime gods that they end up again in the same class this year, making Shikimori blush. However, she told him that even if they ended up in different classes, she would always come to visit him. They moved closer to the board and both began to look for their names. While Izumi saw in HD, Shikimori saw in 144p, because she didn't have her glasses on. Izumi soon found their names and got excited when he discovered they were in the same class. Their friends soon appeared and they parted ways. Later in class, while Izumi and Shikimori talked, a duster flung off from a student's hand as she cleaned the board and came directly for Isumi's head, but Shikimori quickly punched it away. However, the duster landed on her head instead. He thanked her for saving him and leaned in to dust her hair, but she instantly turned red and excused herself. Afterward, his classmates began to roast him for being naturally unlucky. They warned him to be careful and not cause trouble for his cute girlfriend by entangling her in his never-ending misfortune. As they continued to ridicule him, Shikimori returned from the toilet and overheard them from outside as she tried to open the door, making her feel terrible. She quickly stepped in and asked him to come with her to the library, while the three ugly mofos poked she didn't hear them. However, as they stepped out, she gave them a death stare that scared the heck out of them. On their way to the library, she told him he didn't have to worry about what happened back there, but he was confused about what she was talking about, and she told him not to worry. As they continued walking, Izumi thought to himself that his girlfriend was very cute, and he would hate it if she got hurt because of him. Following that, Izumi was in his class packing his book after school when this yellow-headed buffoon named Inuzuka came to ask him if he wanted to have some fun. He replied that he had thought of hanging out with him more that year, which excited him, so they decided to go tell Shikimori about their plans. Meeting her and her friends, they said that they were also just planning to hang out, so they all decided to go together then. They headed to the bowling center, and as they prepared to begin, they set up a challenge saying whoever had the lowest score must treat the winner to something, to which they agreed. Meanwhile, Izumi asked Shikimori if she had bowled before, and she told him not really, saying she had only done it twice before. He replied that he was also new to it. The contest soon started with Inuzuka throwing the ball, and he managed to clear 7 pins, making him pissed. Nico went after and managed to clear only 5 of them. Meanwhile, Hakametsu stepped up and barely managed to throw the ball because it weighed too much for the 5-pound weakling. However, everyone was shocked when she luckily cleared all the pins. Seeing this, Izumi felt he should be able to clear it too since the tiny girl could do it, but the ill-lucked doofus cleared just 1 pin on both throws, sending his friends laughing at him because he was famous for being a loser at everything. It was Shikimori's turn next, and as she stepped up for her throw, she feared how Izumi might look at her if she fumbled. However, he suddenly cheered her up, exciting her, and she went to clear all 10 pins in all her throws, making her the highest score of the day. She got super excited and came to high-five Izumi, making their friends jealous. Later on their way home after separating from their friends, Izumi asked Shikimori what she wanted since the loser was supposed to treat the highest score, but she told him she wanted nothing else other than walking home with her. As they walked home, the wind blew heavily and sent a newspaper flying toward the walking failure, but Shikimori quickly saved him again. Izumi became surprised as he wondered how she managed to do that without looking. As they continued walking, he apologized for having caused trouble for her, but she reminded him that she had told him not to always apologize. She added that she was used to him being unfortunate already, so he should not worry about it. He then revealed that he just didn't like how pathetic he felt when she always had to protect him. Shikimori suddenly stopped and asked if he felt terrible when his classmates teased him the other time. He replied that they were telling the truth after all, as he continued talking about how useless he was to her. A poster suddenly fell off a building on top and came directly for his head, but Shikimori unleashed an insane flip kick, saving him again. Izumi became speechless as he was shocked by what had just happened. She grabbed his hand and told him all he needed to do was stay by her side as she would keep protecting him, no matter what others said. Izumi got raised up immediately and felt his lolly rising, but she became embarrassed as she realized she just made a confession. A few days later, it was the day of the ball sports tournament and Izumi and Inuzuka discovered that they were up for soccer, while the girls were up for volleyball. They were both hyped up about this, and Izumi hoped that no one would get hurt this time, but Inuzuka referred to him, especially since his middle name seemed to be Bad Luck. Just then, Shikimori came in running and asked Izumi what time was the soccer match as volleyball was starting at 11:35. However, Izumi replied that he hadn't checked yet. He suddenly noticed her hair and Wally thought it was cute. Inuzuka pointed out that the hair might make playing volleyball difficult, but she thought it was still cute. He soon took his leave and Shikimori realized that the time schedule for the matches had been on the board all along, but this idiot never realized. At that moment, Izumi thought to himself that he would not be useful at the soccer match anyway, so he thought of doing his best to support his girlfriend so he could still look good before her. However, his plan was shattered when he realized that the soccer and the volleyball matches were around the same time. Shikimori expressed that this meant they couldn't be there to cheer each other up. She then began to talk about how difficult it would be for her class to be her opponent, which seemed to have a top player on its team. Hearing this, Ro grabbed her hands and told her that even though they were apart, he would cheer her on the whole time, making her cheeks red immediately. The soccer match soon began and the useless, good-for-nothing, MC played like he got 2 left feet as he already fell to the ground in the first minute, which made Shikimori concerned. She decided to unleash a magic spell like Merlin to get him to do better, and while it initially seemed like it worked as he got a golden opportunity to score a goal, Ro kicked the air and fell to the ground like a fool. This made Shikimori feel more terrible for the scum she called her boyfriend. Just then, as Izumi sluggishly returned to his feet and dusted his head, the ball came flying toward him without knowing. Shikimori called his attention immediately, but it was too late, knocking him out cold. Later in the infirmary, Shikimori stayed with him and he felt terrible again, asking if she wouldn't miss her volleyball game, but she told him she still had some time left. Just then she got flirty and touched his long hair. She noticed a scar above his brow and asked about it. He revealed that he had suffered terrible injuries in the past and had injuries all over his body, including his stick below. Thanks to his bad luck, she told him she wouldn't be surprised at anything he said again since he seemed to have experienced it all. She then said she always worried about him a lot and asked him to stay by her side as much as possible, which made him feel like the girl in this relationship. She soon stood up to leave, but feeling ashamed, he told her he could also protect her. So she came back to him feeling frisky as she got on top of him. He got red and reminded her about her game, and she replied that she would hide under his sheets then, close to his magnum.
Oh my god! Wow!
Making him more embarrassed. However, she said she was only joking and left, but as she stepped out, she had very shy, wondering what in the world she just did. The volleyball game soon started, and Shikimori's opponents started to whoop their backside due to the top player, Kamaya, who was on the opposing side. Meanwhile, Izumi returned to the soccer field and consoled Inuzuka, crying because their team lost. They then considered going to watch the volleyball game and headed there immediately, but as soon as they got there, they realized that their class was losing. The class spirits were already low, and this dumb idiot Hatamitsu, who was supposed to cheer them up, wasn't helping. Seeing his babe, Izumi immediately cheered her at the top of his lungs, instantly getting her in the zone. Their gameplay quickly changed as Shikimori began to play like she had just tasted cheap crack. As the game continued, Izumi suddenly noticed Kamaya and became surprised, causing Inuzuka to ask him if he knew her. He said yes. Shikimori's team soon tied and eventually won, making them excited. Isumi ran to congratulate her like a reasonable boyfriend, but Kamaya just watched from afar and left. Back in class, everyone celebrated Shikimori for a great performance. Isumi, feeling like a proud boyfriend, congratulated her once again, but she replied that it was all thanks to him who cheered her up during the game. He told her he admired her athleticism, unlike himself who about knocked out of the soccer game early. However, she encouraged him that he tried his best, and he always looked cute when he tried his hardest, making him blush. Just then, several girls bashed in, demanding to take a selfie with Shikimori and have her autograph. And it was then that Isumi realized that his girlfriend was now a celebrity. This continued over the next few days, with different girls flocking around her, making Isumi sad that he was losing his girlfriend, as he soaked over this to Inuzuka. Inuzuka suddenly saw a ball coming at him, so he quickly pushed him away and got hit instead. This made Isumi really terrible immediately because he had involved someone else in his unending bad luck, and he tried to care for him.
Ha! Gay!
But Shikimori saw this differently. She thought he now liked sausages and she became jealous. Later after school, as Isumi prepared to go home, he felt terrible about how the events turned out that day because the bad luck didn't end with Inuzuka getting hit. He got into some other mess because of him, which ended in Inuzuka going home with a broken arm. However, another bad luck was waiting for him. As he got to the stairs, he slipped and almost fell off, but Shikimori quickly came to his rescue again. She confronted him about why he was going home alone, and he replied that, since she was now a celebrity, he didn't want to get in the way. Shikimori wondered what the trash he was spewing and said he was the one she always wanted to go home with, lighting up his eyes. However, she accused him of spending more time with Inuzuka recently than with her, but he smiled and said he had missed her so much, making her fold. Some days later, while in class, Inuzuka gave Isumi 2 movie tickets that he got from a coworker. Isumi asked why he was giving him, and he replied that he would be busy and couldn't use it before it expired. He told Isumi to give the other to whoever he wanted. Meanwhile, Shikimori was overhearing them, and she began making silly expressions to show that she wanted in, but didn't want to push it. Inuzuka soon left the class, and Isumi walked over to her seat to ask her if she wanted to go to the movies with him. She jumped on it even before he finished talking. The date now locked in, Isumi sat in his room and home, thrilled that he was going to see a movie with Shikimori. However, he snapped himself out of his dilyalu, saying he shouldn't sit by and wait for the date, as he had once gone out with Shikimori. It was all shades of bad luck, rain beat them and he lost his wallet. However, in all these, Shikimori only kept smiling like everything was good. So this time he was determined to ensure everything went right. He began to pack all he needed and even tied a string to his wallet so he wouldn't misplace it. After packing all his safety measures, he thought he might have packed too much but tried carrying the bag anyway, only for the weight to pull him to the ground. At the same time, Shikimori was in her home reading Vogue magazine on how to be a cute girl without trying too hard. Worried that she might not look her best and seeing some recommendations, she decided to test different outfits, but she wasn't satisfied with any. Her brother heard the commotion and came to check what the heck she was doing. She told him she was going to the movies the next day with a friend, but her brother became curious about who the friend was to have made her this concerned about her dress. However, she told him to mind his business, so he left immediately, wishing her good luck. The next day came and Assuming quickly left home, but he didn't carry the bag because its straps snapped just when he prepared to head out.
No! God, please, no! No!
He also ran into some bad luck on his way, but this was exactly why he left home since he already knew he was a fanny magnet for bad luck. He soon saw Shikimori and ran over to her. Shocked that she had come much earlier than they planned. Seeing her, he got lost in her beauty and told her she was cute. On the train, Robe began to imagine watching a romance anime with her, and when it reached a kissing scene, he also grabbed Shikimori and went in for the kiss.
Yeah, boy.
Shikimori observed him, and seeing his red face, she asked him if he had a fever or something, but he told her he was fine. He was just excited that he was going to the movies with her. Getting to the cinema, they began to consider which movie to watch. Assuming asked her what movie she would love to watch, and she replied that she was okay with anything he wanted. However, he told her she had always put him first in everything in the past, but this time he wanted her to choose because he wanted to know her better. She blushed and then unexpectedly chose a movie with Joker on the poster, shocking Assuming as there was no way she wanted them to see a horror movie. She told him she had seen great reviews about the movie on Rotten Tomatoes, and she had been longing to see it. Bro thought of his past experience with a horror movie, and even though he didn't like it, he thought of Shikimori embracing him in fear. This was his opportunity to prove he still got testosterone. When the horror movie began, the weakling almost pissed his pants, But Shikimori grabbed his hand to comfort him, which he accepted like an idiot. After the movie, assuming his anxiety levels were off the charts and she apologized for choosing a movie like that, but he thanked her instead for being with him while he watched the movie, or he would have passed out. He added that having her beside him made him stronger. Following that, he asked her if she wanted to get something to eat, and she said yes, so they headed to a classy restaurant in town. While there, Shikimori got attracted to a particular food, but it was too expensive. However, Izumi told her not to worry, saying he had been saving for this day for a while, but when bro checked for his wallet, he realized that his wallet was gone again. He wondered how the heck this happened again, even though he put a string to the wallet and he discovered that the string broke, making him terrible. They headed out of the restaurant with Izumi feeling like he should enter the ground because he had planned to treat her well, but Shikimori remained the understanding girlfriend that she was. Just then they suddenly met Isumi's parents, to whom he explained what had just happened. They were not surprised since they knew their son kept more bad luck streak than Tottenham. However, they invited Shikimori over for dinner to give her what her useless boyfriend couldn't. At home, the food was served, which Shikimori was grateful for, but as they prepared to start eating, a mysterious fork came flying toward Isumi's face. However, Shikimori saved him again as always, making her the GOAT. This surprised Isumi's parents and they clapped for her. They fed her more as she ate and told her she was welcome to eat with them anytime, making her blush. After the dinner, Shikimori joined Isumi's mom in washing the plates, and while at it, Isumi's mother thanked Shikimori for choosing to stay by her son's side, even despite his clumsiness. She then began to narrate how Izumi used to enter one trouble, or the other when he was younger, which made him sustain more injuries than they were. She laughed more about him, and then told her she hoped Shikimori wouldn't lose patience with Izumi. She added that she knew she would have a fair share of his bad luck while she stayed with him. But Shikimori debunked her claims, saying that while it was true that Izumi did run into trouble quite often, she had never thought of him as a loser. She added that being so unlucky was not a flaw, but what rather made him so kind. He never cared about himself and always showed concern for others. She finally said that Izumi was so strong and admirable, and she would always protect him, leaving his mother speechless. A few hours later, they woke the sleepyhead up, and he was surprised to find out that Shikimori had bonded so well and fast with his family. Later, while he saw her off, he apologized for flopping the day, but she told him not to worry and asked what kind of movies he liked before suggesting they go watch another film some other time. A few weeks later, Izumi and his friends meant to decide where they would go over the upcoming summer break, and just while he felt the sun's heat because of his sun sensitivity, Shikimori came with a bottle of H2O, surprising him. Hakumitsu also offered him an umbrella, and he appreciated her thoughtfulness. Just then, Nico raised her hand, saying she wanted to go to the beach over the summer break, which immediately made Shikimori excited, observing her. Izumi realized that Izumi really liked the summer, but he became sad because the beach meant sunburn for him, which made things unbearable for others, so he always ended up sitting under a shade all through. However, Inuzuka suggested they go to the river instead because of Isumi's sensitivity to the sun, and the river seemed cooler. Izumi was surprised and quickly told them they didn't have to hold back because of him, but Inuzuka replied that it wasn't about holding back. They were only putting everyone into consideration so they could go to a place everyone could enjoy. Izumi was surprised by their love and agreed to go to the river, but Hakumitsu objected that, assuming and the river was still a dangerous combination. However, Shikimori told them they didn't need to worry because she would also be there to protect him. Hearing this, Nico began to tease her for being so cute, which made her want to throw her hands. Meanwhile, her Hakumitsu stated that she just wanted to lounge around at someone's house with AC blasting, which got everyone laughing. A few days later, the schedule for exams was released, so Nico used this opportunity to deceive the others to a shopping mall in the pretense that they were going to study. They wondered what the heck they were doing there, and it was then Nico revealed that for the time out at the rivers, they needed swimsuits, but Inuzuka replied that only Jits wore that at the river. Nico got pissed with this, but Inuzuki told her they were in trouble if they didn't study. Meanwhile, Shikimori asked if Izumi would be swimming in the river, but he immediately remembered the tears he had to shed in the past, and he said he would pass. Shikimori gave him a bombastic side eye and said that was a shame, making him uneasy immediately. She then announced that if Izumi wouldn't swim she didn't need a swimsuit too, so Hakumitsu and Nico left them to their silly couple agreement. Meanwhile, with just the two of them and Inuzuka left, Shikimori wondered what they should do instead, but she suddenly noticed Izumi drooling over the poster of a model in sus bikinis and got jealous. She excused herself to the immediately, leaving Asumo wondering what just happened. However, she actually headed to the swimsuit section to look for the exact swimsuit that was rocked in the poster. She soon found it and held it in her hand, and at that moment, Nico and Hakumitsu entered. Nico became shocked, wondering if she was planning to audition for the Errol in 50 Shades of Plot. But this made Shikimori very embarrassed, and she began to throw hands, trying to explain that it wasn't what they thought. She revealed that she had only come to get it, because Sumi was staring at a poster ad where it was displayed. This made Nico and the short slug beside her smile, and they informed her that she had the habit of never wanting to lose, but Shikimori was confused what they were talking about. So Nico decided to go down the memory lane by recounting the time she first saw her before they became friends. She glazed harder than Kendrick Lamar fans at that moment, and it became her only obsession to become friends with Shikimori because of how beautiful she was. However, her long-awaited opportunity happened during a basketball game they played in as opponents, and the fierceness of the competition brought them together as friends. Back in the present, Shikimori was surprised by their discovery, and when she tried to talk, Nico pushed her, asking them to go get her a nice swimsuit. Meanwhile, Izumi and Inezuka were studying maths in a cafe, and a while later the girl returned with Shikimori blushing like she just got piped for the first time. Izumi noticed this and asked why she was happy, but she told him it was not like she bought something or anything like that. But he didn't believe her because her face gave off that she was only capping. The next day after exams, Izumi walked home with Shikimori sobbing that day because he had experienced another bad luck during the exam. All his writing tools broke at the same time, and as he soaked over this with Shikimori trying to console him, a random dog saw his useless face and started to bark at him. Later that night, he buried his head in his pillow rethinking, where he got it wrong in life to have made his life that miserable. Just then he received a call from Shikimori, who knew he would still be soaking in his sheets. Izumi felt better immediately when she told him she just wanted to hear his voice, so he went to his room window and told her to also look at the beautiful North Star shining in the sky above. This prompted her to ask him if he loved the stars, and he replied yes, because when he was young his dad took him out stargazing. However, due to his bad luck aura, it always rained when they went. So, he never got to see any real constellations. Hearing that, Shikimori promised to take him somewhere he could see a sky full of stars. However, he replied that he wanted to take her someplace she wanted to go to, shocking her, and she asked why. He answered that it was because he wanted to see her with a happy look on her face, adding that she had always done things because of him, so now he wanted to do something she wanted. However, she told him she didn't have anywhere in mind making bro thanks, she didn't want to go anywhere with him. She revealed that it was because she wanted to go wherever he was going, since her greatest pleasure came from seeing him having fun. Izumi began to cry and how cute this felt, and she told him it was time to call it a night. He then said he now felt better after talking to her and wished he could see her right then. This turned her ketchup red, and she hurriedly ended the call before she got switched on. She lied on her bed feeling butterflies in her stomach, and she threw her legs, wishing she could also see him at that moment. A week later, once exams had wrapped up, Izumi and his friends headed off for their summer getaway to the river. The moment they saw the water, they were shocked that Izumi's bad luck hadn't ruined everything yet. While the squad was hyped to dive in, Inezuka and Nico decided that food was a priority. They got into prepping mode real quick, and Inezuka started chopping onions like he was Hell's Kitchen material. One bad slice later, the girls benched him without mercy so the anime wouldn't go from romance to sauce. That was when Izumi picked up the knife.
You serious?
And everyone tensed up, praying he didn't accidentally de-willy himself. But to their surprise, the guy sliced the onions like a pro. Turned out he had been helping his mom in the kitchen for years. Shikimori heard this and immediately folded like a lawn chair, because her man could cook. Inezuka joked that with skills like that, assuming he might just steal everyone's girl. But Shikimori shook that noise down fast. They kept working the grill, making skewers, lighting charcoal. But while everyone was focused on the barbecue, Shikimori was off to the side, making something in secret, obviously determined to impress Izumi. When the food was ready, Shikimori proudly handed Izumi a dish she had made just for him. He smiled, thinking she was just good at everything. But the moment he took a bite, he instantly regretted his life choices. It was the worst food his mouth had ever tasted.
That one there was a violation. Personally, I wouldn't have it.
He dropped to his knees and saw heaven in view once, surprising Shikimori, who wondered what could be wrong. She decided to taste it herself and immediately hit the ground too. That was when everyone realized she couldn't cook to save her life. However, Izumi took another bite, making Shikimori worried he'd gone insane. But he told her he'd eat every bite because she had put effort into making it for him. That one line sent her determination into overdrive, and she promised to learn how to cook just for him. Once the group finished eating, dessert cravings kicked in, and Izumi busted out some homemade s'mores like it was nothing, leaving everyone staring at him, like it was Gordon Ramsay's secret son. He leaned into Shikimori's ear, and whispered that he made it because he wanted her to taste his creamy s'mores. Without missing a beat, she devoured them like it was her last meal. And when he asked how they tasted, she licked her finger in a sus way,
I'm gonna come. Oh.
and told him she could eat his creamy s'mores every day for breakfast, lunch and supper, making him want to bust out like a fountain. After cleaning up, the squad ran to the river. But before joining them, Shikimori grabbed Izumi and asked him to make those creamy s'mores again. Next time just for her at his place. Following that, they started dipping their feet and splashing around, but Shikimori looked anxious. She was rocking a new swimsuit and felt shy about showing Izumi. Meanwhile, Kato's reigned as the others goofed off in the water, yelling for the couple to join them. Suddenly, Izumi noticed a tiny gremlin of a girl getting swept away by the current.
Even the kids
The
here are
girl,
having
looking
fun.
confused in her floaty, started crying for her mama, so Izumi knew he had to act fast. He dove in after her and suddenly popped up in front of her, but the brat started punching him out of fear. He calmed her down, helped her float, and lifted her up to safety. Just when he was about to make it back, the anime god smoked him with leg cramps, and now he was the one getting carried away. Back on shore, Nico tried convincing Shikimori to flaunt her swimsuit, but then Inuzuka realized her man was gone. They searched around and found the young girl, now safe at bawling. Because her savior now needed salvation, everyone started panicking except Shikimori. She quickly ripped off her top like a Marvel hero and dove into the river like Aquawoman. Underwater, Isumi's vision started to blur. He thought he was about to join his forefathers in Hades, but nah, Shikimori wasn't letting her man die on her watch. She pulled him out like a boss and dragged him back to shore. Once he was safe, she started scolding him for not calling for help. But he apologized so sweetly that she just sighed and let it go. The squad rushed over, including the tiny menace and her clueless mom. They thanked Izumi like he was some kind river god, and the little girl planted a kiss on his cheek, making Shikimori jealous instantly. But they calmed her down, saying it was just a jit. With disaster out of the way, everyone went back to having fun, splashing, hunting for fish and getting soaked. Izumi suddenly spotted Shikimori's swimsuit, and his big daddy rose up immediately. He complimented her, and she gave him that look that almost made him forget how to breathe. Later, they headed up a nearby market to grab dry clothes, then stumble on an ice cream spot. Izumi and Shikimori got their cones first, and she offered him a taste of her cream when he licked it. She imagined how good he had to be at licking. She leaned in, ready to return the favor, but Inuzuka photobombed the moment and chomped down on the entire thing, making Izumi break down. Not letting that slide, Shikimori scooped a massive bite out of his cone too, and both began to fight. While Izumi stood there, cumless and betrayed. Eventually, they headed to the train station and found themselves in an empty cart. At first, they were all chatting and laughing, still high from the trip. But one by one, everyone dozed off except Izumi. Shikimori also tried to fight sleep but ended up conking out on his shoulder, making him fold hard. He distracted himself by thinking about how blessed he was. Despite all his bad luck, he had great friends and a girlfriend who might actually be a walking cheat code for life. Hours later, Izumi finally fell asleep. Shikimori woke up and saw him resting his head against Inuzuka's, so she gently pulled his head under her shoulder, letting him rest while she washed over him. A few days after the river trip, Izumi came down with a nasty fever, thanks to the sun turning his skin into toast. Feeling all shades of miserable, he got a call from Shikimori, who tried lifting his spirits. While they chatted, a news flash about an upcoming fireworks festival lit up his TV screen, and Isumi's excitement instantly came alive. Without wasting a beat, he told Shikimori he wanted to check it out with her, and she didn't hesitate. When the festival day arrived, Isumi's parents helped him slip into a yukata. His mom Lotoko got all sentimental and dramatic, whining about how she missed those youthful days of fireworks dates. But when Izumi mentioned that Shikimori had never seen a fireworks show before, his dad, Akasada, got all serious, saying he had a secret hack for him. Meanwhile, back at Isumi's place, Shikimori was having a fashion crisis as she was struggling to wear a kimono for the first time, and the process was beating her like an unpaid intern. Her brother Fuji overheard her distress calls and walked in to help. He got her looking like a full-course meal, but in true big brother fashion, called her ugly before bouncing out, leaving Shikimori speechless. Isumi pulled up to the festival first, extra prepared with multiple wallets, and his money was separated into them, thinking there was no way he was going to lose all three. After a few moments, Shikimori showed up in her kimono, looking like a snack straight out of a summer romance manga. Both of them froze, too stunned to speak, mentally peeling each other like onions, wondering what treasures lay beneath the fabrics. Following that, they'd wandered around the festival, soaking in the vibe. Isumi grabbed some cotton candy, but noticed Shikimori passed on it. Turns out, she didn't have a sweet tooth, and this revelation triggered flashbacks in Isumi's brain about all the times he fed her desserts. Shikimori cleared the air, saying that thanks to him and his creamy s'mores, she had started warming up to sweet stuff, and had even been trying more recently. Next up, they had a shooting game stand where the prizes were calling out to Isumi, especially one. The stall guy hyped him up, telling him to impress his lady, but Isumi's curse kicked in, and he missed every shot like he had butterfingers. Then, Shikimori stepped in to give it a try, but the stall dude underestimated her because he was an Andrew Tate fan. But she shut him down with 0 words, took the gun, aimed, and sniped every target like she trained under hitmen, causing the guy to nearly faint. However, when she got the prize, instead of keeping it for herself, she handed it to Isumi and told him to keep it as a reminder of her, making the shameless idiot blush. Elsewhere, Inuzuka, Nico, and Hakimitsu were vibing at the festival too. When they bumped into the couple, the girls went straight to Shikimori, gushing over how elegant her yukata was. Seeing the gang all gathered, Inuzuka, being the hyper one, suggested they'd play the fish-catching game, and while it was supposed to be fun, Ro turned it into a battle, and the stall Inuzuka effortlessly caught a fish, but Isumi fumbled as always. His paddle soon slipped into the water like it had a mind of its own, and that's when Shikimori jumped in. Not about to let her man get disrespected by some yellow-headed orangutan, but sadly, Inuzuka still smoked her too, because Shikimori couldn't gain for her life when it came to precision and patience. Nico and Hakimitsu saw that the fireworks were about to start, so Nico tagged in for Shikimori so she wouldn't forget the main reason she came to the festival, to watch the fireworks with her boyfriend. Shikimori dipped out with Isumi, and it was about to tell her about the secret spot when her sandal broke mid-walk. However, Isumi got a fix for her, but the damage was done as Shikimori had sustained blisters on her feet that made her unable to walk. She asked what his plan was, but he told her not to worry since it was no longer possible, but she insisted that he told her. So Isumi revealed a secret hack that his father had told him about while he prepared for the festival. His father had told him about a secret viewing spot with 0 crowds and a perfect view. When Isumi asked how he even knew such a place, Motoko casually dropped a bomb. Apparently, that's where she and Akasate used to sneak off to when they were trying to make him. Hearing this, Shikimori got interested in seeing the spot, but Isumi refused to let her limp her way through. Shikimori looked crushed, suggesting they just saved it for next year, but Isumi had other plans. He crouched down and told her to hop on his back and enjoy the ride. She climbed on, and although it was rough at first, he powered through. As they journeyed, fireworks lit the sky, making everything feel straight out of a dream. When they finally reached the long staircase to the spot, Shikimori got self-conscious, thinking she was too heavy, but Isumi pressed on like a true Sigma. She asked why he was going so far just for this, and Isumi gave the sweetest answer ever, saying he just wanted to see her smile from her heart. When they got to the top, the secret spot delivered as expected, and Isumi placed her on a bench as they watched the sky burst into colors. Shikimori apologized, worried he might not see her as cute anymore, but Isumi replied that she'd always be cute to him. Then Isumi admitted he was just like her, scared she might think he was lame. That's why he didn't ask her to the festival the previous year. Shikimori, in turn, revealed she had waited for his invitation, shocking him, but she added that none of that mattered anymore because she was finally here, living the moment with him, and she thanked him for making it magical. Once the show ended, Isumi carried her again, ready to descend the long stairs, but Shikimori worried that he still had it in him. As he tried to walk down, he slipped, but his father suddenly popped like a superhero and saved them both from becoming constellations. Motoko was there too, smiling like she just watched her favorite K-drama. Turns out, they'd been stalking the whole day from behind the scenes. Akasata hoisted both lovebirds and said he'd drive them home, and they both thanked him for the legendary date spot. A few weeks later, it was a new term and the school began to prepare for the cultural festival. While Isumi was in the costuming group sewing fabrics, Shikimori was in the big court group. He noticed her laughing with the other dudes and became jealous, thinking that she must have been having fun without him. In the previous year they were both in the same group and this gave him the opportunity to be close to her and talk a lot. As soon as Izumi continued working on his fabric, he started enjoying his time with the girls in his group too. Seeing him, Shikimori began to fume. Inuzuka and Nico entered at that moment, and Inuzuka became scared as he saw Shikimori giving him a death stare, which made him wonder what he had done. Days later, on the first day of the cultural festival, Izumi headed to school, and as he entered through the school gate, he was given the number 44 on a card, which he thought was an unlucky number. However, he remained surprised that they were playing the same game this year like the previous year. Later, when the event started proper, Izumi got dressed in a lien costume, thinking he looked like Mufasa, but his friends told him it made his face uglier than before. However, he wasn't offended because he too knew he was 2 shades away from being mistaken for Gollum. Just then Shikimori appeared, feeling insecure about her dress, but Izumi told her he looked like Sunid, making her happy. She also flattered him that he looked like Tenjin, but the low-budget one. Later, as everything got bizarre and everyone went about their duties, Izumi took the waiter role, but bad luck was there waiting for him as usual. While he carried an order to a table, a customer mistakenly slipped a serviette in his path, causing him a trip. However, his clean and shining sneakers quickly saved him, amusing the onlookers. On day 2 of the cultural festival, Izumi was assigned to work in the library, and as he headed there, he hoped that the other partner also assigned there was in his grade, as it would be awkward to spend 3 hours together with a strong air. He soon entered the library and was shocked that his partner was Kamaya. He told her he was happy that it was someone he knew, and as they arranged books for shelves later, he recounted how they met the previous year. He had to know her through the library committee last year, and he knew her for being the volleyball team's ace. Last year she was in the class next to Isumi's, so they had library duty together. Bro was so nervous at first, but Kamaya made it easy for him to talk to her. They chatted as they arranged the books, and Izumi asked her what her class was doing for the cultural festival, to which she replied a cave the same as Isumi's class. He commended that they must be really struggling without her there, and she confirmed it by telling him that people cried trying to stop her from leaving the previous day. Following up, Izumi talked about her popularity with the younger students at the sports tournament, and she replied that the chaos she always faced with them made her cherish the peace and quietness the library brought. 18 months earlier, when Izumi first stepped into the library, he met Kamaya and started acting like an unfinished robot as he was nervous about talking to her. The stupid idiot soon did his head on the desk due to his nervousness, and Kamaya told him to chill as they were in the same grade after all. However, he told her he was nervous because it was his first time on the library duty. Afterward, she showed him the ropes and they got closer and closer after then. Back to the present, she told him he seemed different from the last time, and when he asked why she thought so, she sent me because he now had a girlfriend, shocking him how she knew about that. Kamaya replied that Nico told her about it, and then she began to glaze her, making Izumi think that she was being more talkative than usual today. She suddenly asked him how they got together, prompting to ask why she wanted to know, and she told him she was just curious because she didn't talk about relationships often. When Izumi delayed in responding, she got more assertive and pushed him against a shelf, saying she was interested in Shikimori. Izumi was now scared, surprised to see Kamaya break character, and he wondered if she liked Shikimori in a different kind of way.
Ew! Dude! What the fuck?
In a different location within the school, the couple numbers list was posted on the board, and when Shikimori checked, she started to fume like she would implode because she and Izumi didn't have matching numbers. Nico wondered why she was so beaten up about it, and Hadamitsu explained that the couple numbers game was a game played during the cultural festival among students where numbers were randomly given to everyone and those with matching numbers were supposed to take pictures together to seal the fate that would forever be together. This was how Shikimori started dating Izumi. Shikimori, after giving it much thought, told them she knew what to do. She would look for the person who had a matching number to assume and exchange hers with her. Meanwhile, Kamaya was still pressing Izumi about how he and Shikimori met, and he decided to tell her. He revealed that they had matching numbers in the last cultural festival, and while Shikimori was shy to ask him to take a picture with her, Izumi suggested they walk around. Izumi came across the photo booth for the couple numbers, which made Izumi consider them taking pictures together, but Shikimori, the sharp one, wrote the ice and directly requested a picture with him, to which he agreed, saying he had also been meaning to ask her too. However, another bad luck was waiting to ruin the moment. Bro couldn't find his number card anymore. He became so embarrassed and wished he could just jump from Mount Fuji. However, she told him not to worry about it and said they would look for it. He initially objected, saying it was impossible to find what he had already lost as it was not the first time it had happened to him, but she told him they would change that, surprising him. After 2 hours of fruitless searching, they met the committee president and after much pleading, he wrote him another number and they successfully took their picture. Following that, Izumi thought he had seen a wife material and summoned the courage to ask her out. Kamaya got excited, saying this was the best youthful love story she had ever heard. Meanwhile, it was soon revealed that Kamaya had the matching number with Izumi this year. Meanwhile, following that, Kamaya entered a deluge of a world where it was a princess and thought admired and surrounded by many. Her heart quietly longed for just one prince, Izumi. From the shadows, she watched him, held back by emotions she couldn't bring herself to share. But fate moved faster than her courage, and before she could confess, another princess stepped into the picture, Shikimori, claiming Izumi's heart. Kamaya responded with a soft, distant smile, masking the sting of unspoken love, and so the curtain fell, leaving her behind in silence. Back at the library, she bought a newly released fairy tale romance film, and asked Izumi if he had seen it. He hadn't. Curious, he asked her what she thought of it. With a dry chuckle, she replied that people who clung to stories like that, hoping for love to suddenly appear their own lives, were the same ones who eventually realized that dreams didn't always become reality. Just then, Nico entered the library and upon spotting Kamaya, asked her to step outside. Waiting there was Shikimori, who hesitantly requested that Kamaya swap couple numbers with her. Confused, Kamaya asked why. Shikimori explained that Kamaya had been paired with Izumi's number. Though it clearly pained her, Kamaya handed the number over without resistance. When Izumi stepped down and saw Shikimori, surprise flickered across his face. Kamaya told him he could just leave his shift and go with her, but he shook his head, insisting that he didn't want to make Kamaya work alone. Her cheeks flushed and her heartbeat quickened, which Shikimori noticed. She could see straight through the facade, and while Izumi finished his shift, Shikimori and Nico hung around the library. During that time, Shikimori kept picking up on Kamaya's body language whenever she was near Izumi. After work, Izumi left with the girls but Kamaya stayed behind, tying her hair back and returning to her classroom. Cheers and compliments welcomed her back, and while some ugly boys with zero chance debated asking her out, the girls lined up for selfies, yet Kamaya's mind drifted elsewhere. Fixated on those peaceful library moments with Izumi, overwhelmed, she excused herself and headed up to the rooftop for air. There, she reflected on Shikimori, not with jealousy but admiration. She saw her as someone brave enough to express her emotions openly, something Kamaya never had the strength to do. As if summoned by her thoughts, Shikimori appeared on the rooftop, returning the couple member to her, shocking Kamaya. Shikimori gently admitted she knew how Kamaya felt about Izumi, and this instantly triggered a memory of the past. About a year ago, a bookshelf in the library collapsed, thanks to Izumi's bad luck, and as they clean up the mess, Izumi called her a good person, stunning her because no one had ever called her that before. She remembered how that moment made her heart ache in the most unfamiliar way. Kamaya now realized that of all people, Shikimori, the girl Izumi loved, was the one who understood her best, but instead of Shikimori getting bitter and warning her to stay away from her boyfriend, she offered only compassion, saying if she had feelings for Izumi, it must mean that she was a good person. Kamaya have assured her she had never planned to confess her feelings, not to Izumi, not to anyone. She recalled how her days had always felt brighter when she got to leave class to meet him in the library. He had seen her not as the flawless girl others admired, but as she truly was vulnerable, messy, and in love. Tears rolled down her cheeks as she confessed her guilt. She regretted her feelings, saying she should have kept herself from going past the friendship. She then promised to never go near Izumi again, but Shikimori suddenly tore the number apart, shocking her. She pulled Kamaya into a hug and apologized, saying that someone with a heart like hers should never feel ashamed of her feelings. Kamaya broke down in her arms, but after she calmed, Kamaya told Shikimori to return to Izumi, since bro must be feeling useless already in her absence. As she watched her walk away, she saw a princess who had won the heart of the prince, while herself remained the forgotten one. Yet even with that, she smiled, truly glad that someone as kind as Shikimori was by Izumi's side, and she wished them both happiness. The next day, Izumi was busy picking out a birthday gift for Shikimori, and it also marked their one-year anniversary, while the shopkeeper suggested a toy. As soon went for something more else at school, the festival wrapped up smoothly. Followed by an after-party where Hakimitsu curiously asked Shikimori to show this year's couple member's photo, but she told her she didn't have it anymore, surprising everyone by how a cute girl could be that careless. However, she brushed it off, saying she simply lost it. Later that evening, Izumi invited her to the park and there he handed her a small gift box. Shikimori opened it to find a heart-shaped necklace, surprising her. Izumi offered to wear it for her and her guard fell completely. Because this was incestuous, he then promised her they'd always be together. However, something nodded at her, and she told him that as he hadn't changed, and she feared that it might pull him away from her one day as people would start seeing him the way she saw him. She then asked him to never change. However, Izumi stepped forward as though he wanted to give a speech and said he had actually changed and it was she who had changed for the better. He then told her to trust in more and just like that, Shikimori began to cry, overwhelmed by joy. Through her tears, she laughed and declared that no matter how many girls came chasing after his magnum, she'd never let him go. Izumi stood up to leave, but Shikimori loosened her hair and asked him what he thought, leaving him stunned by how cute his girlfriend was. A few days later, Inuzuka pulled up at school and ran into Nico, who was already in full panic mode after finding out Izumi had fallen sick. But Inuzuka, cool as ever, let her know he already heard about it, and that Izumi had actually asked him to take down notes for him. Right on cue, Shikimori popped up visibly annoyed that Izumi didn't come to her for help, but Inuzuka got confused as he couldn't wrap his head around why this girl Loki. He was her rival when he clearly loved Gia. Later on, he vented his frustration to the girls. Surprisingly, they told him that even when they got close to Izumi, Shikimori never acted jealous. That left Inuzuka wondering if Shikimori genuinely disliked him. But Nico stepped in and said Shikimori had once talked about him. Apparently, Shikimori had mentioned how close Inuzuka and Izumi were, but instead of being glad her boyfriend had a great friend, she ended up feeling straight up jealous. Inuzuka demanded to know what her deal was, and Nico assured him that Shikimori didn't hate him at all. After school, Shikimori asked if she could tag along to Isumi's house with Inuzuka, and he agreed. As he walked away, Nico turned to Hakimitsu and told her she had on the way to Isumi's place. The duo stopped at a convenience store. Shikimori wanted to grab some cough drops for Izumi, but had no idea which one to pick. She turned to Inuzuka for help, and he just grabbed one without thinking. Then came the bombshell. She called him brother while asking about candy options. He pointed out a great flavored one, and just as they both realized what she had called him, Shikimori freaked out and bolted to the cashier before giving any explanation. After paying, she handed in the great candy, surprising him. When he asked why, she admitted she knew how much he liked great flavored stuff and nearly did. As they left the store, they ran into Hakimitsu, who had apparently cracked the code on why Shikimori acted so cold toward Inuzuka. She turned into a low-budget Sherlock Holmes. Hakimitsu declared that Shikimori saw Inuzuka as a mere image of her big brother, someone who used to act distant with her. Inuzuka didn't buy it at first, but when he looked at Shikimori's face, it all made sense. And oddly enough, realizing that made him kind of happy. Hakimitsu then noticed the candy and asked for some, but Inuzuka said she couldn't have any because it came from a certain someone dying for her big brother's attention. Shikimori shot them a death glare right after that, and both of them instantly apologized. Meanwhile, Asuna was still at home, waiting on his meds and notes, also hoping he could see Shikimori. A few days later, Shikimori and Nico hit them all together. While window shopping, they spotted Kamaya chilling inside a bookstore. While Shikimori hesitated in greeting, Nico pulled an instant transmission, and wasted no time in saying hi. After exchanging greetings, Nico invited Kamaya to join them for a girls' day out. To everyone's surprise, especially Nico's, Kamaya actually said yes, making Nico nearly lost her mind since she'd never managed to get Kamaya to hang out before. Their little trio went on an adventure, playing with dolls, admiring puppies and taking IG-worthy photos. At some point, Nico dipped into the restroom, and Kamaya asked Shikimori how to use the claw machine. Shikimori gave her the rundown, but Kamaya was still terrible at it. So, Shikimori stepped up and went beast mode on the machine. Winning a mountain of snacks like she was farming XP instead of hoarding the goodies, she handed them over to Kamaya, surprising her, and she asked why. But Shikimori just said it was for her. That sparked Kamaya's competitive fire, and she vowed to pay her back somehow. When Nico came back, she found Kamaya goofing off and actually smiling, which hit her with a wave of nostalgia. Before this, Kamaya always turned down her invites and people even told Nico to stop trying. But today she was witnessing something different as Kamaya looked genuinely happy. Later they stumbled upon a basketball court, but just as they were about to play, two weird doofus showed up and told them to scram because they had it booked. The girls agreed to leave, but then the bozos challenged them to a game to settle the score. They even started roasting Shikimori and her friends, saying they were so ugly when they were born. The doctor said, "We tried our best." That lit a fire in Shikimori and Kamaya, who immediately accepted the challenge, while Nico, who couldn't play trash, stepped up as a ref and launched the game. The bozos put up a fight as much as they could, but Shikimori and Kamaya cooked them so hard and wiped the floor with their backside. After the game, enemies turned into buddies and it all took a group selfie. Later on, as they prepared to head home, Kamaya asked to be Shikimori's friend, and she happily accepted. On the walk back, Nico pointed out how different Kamaya seemed compared to before, and Kamaya apologized for always rejecting her in the past. Nico told her she was a nice person, and that made Kamaya blush, probably because it reminded her of Izumi. Nico told her she wanted to get to know her better, and Kamaya asked her to ask her anything she wanted to know. Not knowing what to ask, Nico randomly asked about her favorite sweet snack, surprising Kamaya as she wondered if this was what she wanted to know. However, Kamaya revealed that she didn't like anything in particular, except creamy sausages. Then Nico asked if she knew Izumi well, and that he was dating Shikimori. At that moment, she caught a stronger look on Kamaya's face, and she suddenly asked her who changed her to be like this. Kamaya didn't give a straight answer but said someone once told her to hold on to her feelings, and maybe one day she'd tell Nico who it was. She gave Nico a soft smile, one she'd never seen before, and the two of them ran off into the sunset. With Nico hoping that someday Kamaya would smile not just with her face, but with her whole heart. Once it had gone by, and just like that, a dawn rolled in as the school geared up for the sports festival. Asumi's class shows their relay participants via lottery, and when it came time for Izumi to draw, the man whispered a prayer to the anime gods to spare him, but those gods don't listen to no one. Especially when you are a useless MC. Right after that, Hakumitsu took her turn, equally desperate to not be chosen, but alas, she also got picked against her choice. Then, another student got selected, but Shikimori asked her to swap places just so she could run alongside Izumi. Seeing this little lineup forming, Nico and Inuzuka also hopped involuntarily to make it a squad moment, and so they could have some fun. While Shikimori tried to catch Asumi's attention with her noble act, clearly expecting some applause, Bro was too busy hyping Inuzuka for joining, leaving Shikimori to begin her jealousy arc. Later on, the teen held a little pre-race huddle, and Hakumitsu warned everyone that her short legs were not built for speed, while Izumi also admitted he wasn't exactly built by the track star either. Shikimori attempted to give some motivational mumbo-jumbo, but Inuzuka beat her to it, missing Shikimori off because this was supposed to make her look cool. Nico chimed in, saying they might lose, but they'd have a blast, which made Izumi quietly feel like maybe this wouldn't suck after all. The training soon kicked off and their spirits were high, except for Hakumitsu, who was already convinced they were all doomed. They figured out their relay positions and began practicing. At first, everything seemed fine until Hakumitsu's tiny legs started their slow-motion performance, and the second she passed the baton to Izumi. The idiot tripped and face-planted, however he got back up and kept running, which surprised Hakumitsu, and she felt a flicker of hope. One training set in, Izumi and Hakumitsu looked like they got dragged through 10 rounds of anime filler fights, while the rest of the team was still open active. Still, Inuzuka and the gang reassured them that they'd cover for them. Later that evening, after the others had bounced, Izumi asked Hakumitsu to stay back, and continued training, since they were the weakest of the group, and she agreed. They pushed themselves hard until they both collapsed from exhaustion. Izumi thanked her for sticking with him, and Hakumitsu confessed that she actually hated running, but because she wanted her friends to be happy, she'd keep running just for them. A few days later, the school's athletic festival day came. When Izumi looked at Hakumitsu, he could tell her soul had already left the building. The first event was the cavalry battle, and Shikimori, watching from the sidelines, was impressed by Asumi's unintentional masculinity, but unfortunately they lost terribly. Next was the ball toss, and Hakumitsu participated, still looking soulless, but her friends cheered her on, and she decided to go all in. People questioned if she could even throw with those hobbit arms, but out of nowhere Hakumitsu turned into a one-woman anime arc. She chucked the balls like a Jedi Master and won the game, leaving her drained afterward, but the moment her friends praised her, she lit up like a glow stick. Finally, the relay race arrived. Inuzuka and Nico silently prayed to the anime gods, begging them to not let Izumi fall. Hakumitsu was anxious again, but Shikimori held her hand and said she was nervous too. However, Hakumitsu saw through the cap immediately, knowing that Shikimori had always wanted to win. As the race kicked off, Nico took the lead and smoked the competition, and while Hakumitsu anxiously waited for her turn, she got some calming words from Shikimori. Nico handed her the baton, and Hakumitsu took off, face already looking like she'd seen some things. She became slower and slower until she lost their lead and ended the last position, but she was surprised her legs weren't moving even though she was running with her strength. She soon tripped and fell. She stayed on the ground, spiraling, until Izumi yelled for her, so she got up immediately, pushed through the pain, and handed the baton to Izumi. Izumi started running in last place, and while it all looked like he had found a glitch from his bad luck era, it had other plans for him. Both shoes heated off his feet mid-race. He almost gave up, but he suddenly remembered Hakumitsu, telling him the race depended on him, so he brazened up and continued running in his socks like his life depended on it, surprising the audience. Inuzuka waited for his turn and asked Hakumitsu to cheer him on, which she reluctantly did. Izumi soon passed the baton to Shikimori, fully believing she'd make magic happen, and fueled by Isumi's motivation. Shikimori blasted forward like a lightning strike. She sent past her opponents while the crowd lost their minds. Meanwhile, Inuzuka was admiring her, but when he saw the look on Shikimori's face, he instantly knew that if he fumbled this she would sauce him. However, he decided to trust his team and himself. When he got the baton, Inuzuka snapped and ran with all he could while his friends cheered for him. Just like that, he won the race and everyone celebrated. Izumi quickly ran over to Shikimori and hugged her, telling her she was the coolest girl alive. Meanwhile, Hakumitsu watched them and was happy, grateful about how lucky she was to have them all in her life. A few years ago, it had been a regular day at the Izumi household. His smoke show of a mom Motoko woke him up for school like always. A few minutes later, young Izumi headed out, only to nearly get flattened by a speeding bicycle, but instead of being scored for life, he just brushed it off like it was just another Tuesday. At school, the nurse patched him up and told him not to worry about the upcoming field trip, since she'd be there too. Later, during gym class, his classmates asked if he'd tag along with them for the trip. Although Izumi hesitated because, well, his life was basically a Final Destination movie. They reassured him that they didn't mind the risk, but as they walked home together after school, a giant teddy bear nearly snapped one of the kids' necks in half and Izumi didn't need a psychic to tell him his curse was to blame. So instead of going for the trip, the boy marched to a temple and begged the gods to let this cup pass over him. Fast forward to the present, Izumi was walking home with Shikimori, telling her how nice it was to just hang out with her. He asked her to go somewhere with him again, saying it had been a while since their last date. First, he suggested a spa and Shikimori was down, but then he switched gears and brought up an amusement park, when he showed her a video of two people kissing at the park. Shikimori suddenly got real interested because deep down she was curious how his tongue tasted. A few days later, Shikimori hit the mall with her brother, Fuji, who doubled as her ride and her personal pain in her backside. They split up so she could shop in peace. In one of the stores, Shikimori found herself torn between different outfits, trying to decide which look would make Izumi want to clap. However, she ended up leaving without buying anything. Outside, she ran into Fuji again, right as he was surrounded by two baddies thirsty for his sausage.
Oh my god! Wow!
Shikimori, seeing how awkward her brother was, pulled him away from the scene. When the girls asked who she was, Shikimori just stared them down, and they backed off, assuming she was Fuji's toxic girlfriend. Fuji was absolutely mortified that his little sister had to save him, and she wouldn't stop clowning him for being a riseless NPC back in the day. A younger Shikimori used to train in karate with Fuji. She dominated the boys' division like it was child's play, and Fuji often teased her by calling her trash, part insult, part motivation. At home, their strict mom cooked something that tasted like charcoal. But after Fuji ate it, Shikimori powered through too. That evening, Fuji told her he wouldn't be going to the dojo with her anymore and that she'd have to go on her own. Their mom asked if she still wanted to do karate, noting that it was Fuji who got her into it in the first place. Shikimori told her she wanted to continue, not for him, but because she had made friends there. So her mom smiled, seeing that her daughter was standing on her own now. At school, a few girls were getting bullied by a bunch of goons. That was until Shikimori showed up looking like she was ready to throw hands. The boys tried to act tough but ended up backing off. The girls thanked her and joked that the boys probably had a crush on her. But Shikimori didn't get it, because romance was alien to her. Years passed, and Shikimori kept up with Korit and eventually ended up sparring with her own brother. She thought she had him, but Fuji hooped her without breaking a sweat and told her she still wasn't all that. On her walk home, Fuji asked her what kind of umbrella she used. She didn't know, just said it was the popular one. That annoyed Fuji, seeing her copy everyone else. Out of nowhere, he told her he was quitting karate. She was stunned he was the champion after all. She got frustrated that he just did whatever he wanted. But Fuji told her she needed to find her own thing, not follow him, their mom, or anyone else. The next day in class, one of Shikimori's friends asked if she read manga. Shikimori said she didn't but sometimes flipped through her brother's collection. That lit a fire in her friend, who immediately started ranting about a romance manga she just found. She lent it to Shikimori, and later that night Shikimori read it in her room, causing her heart to thump because romance felt surreal. Days later, Shikimori competed in a karate tournament and actually won. She qualified for nationals, but instead of continuing, she told her friends she was quitting. She wanted to experience love. She started dressing up, wore contact lenses, and at the gym she had some weight. All to shape herself into someone new. Months passed. On her first day of high school, Shikimori pulled up looking like a certified baddie. She had one goal: find a hot guy to fall for. That's when she saw an Izumi standing next to a janitor, staring at a tree. Apparently, his exam ticket got blown away and stuck up there. The janitor offered to grab a ladder, but Shikimori told Izumi she could climb it herself. He panicked, figuring his misfortune might get her unalived, but she climbed it anyway and grabbed the ticket like a bro. A few days later, they ran into each other again at school. Izumi thanked her for helping him out and told her about his chronic bad luck. He also mentioned how happy he was to see her again. That little comment hit Shikimori right in the feels. When he tried to scurry off, embarrassed, she stopped him and asked for his name. That was their first official meeting. Back in the present, Shikimori opened up to her brother about her insecurities, feeling like she still wasn't pretty enough. In one of the stores, she spotted an expensive lipstick she really wanted. Fuji looked at her at that moment and remembered the little sister who used to follow him everywhere. Now she was blazing her own trail. That night, as Shikimori got ready for her date, she found the lipstick. Along with a note from Fuji wishing her good luck, she realized he had bought it for her, and the gesture touched her deeply. The next day, she wore the lipstick and headed out for her date, leaving behind a brother who couldn't be prouder. At the amusement park, Izumi had already pulled up first, excited like a jit waiting for Santa. Fully hyped after putting together the perfect date plan in his head, Shikimori pulled up looking like a total baddie in her blazer, and that alone sent Izumi into full emotional meltdown mode. The second they entered the park, Shikimori got confused about where to head first, but Izumi had already loaded the GPS in his brain and dragged her to the costume store like a man on a mission. He handed her some fluffy animal ears, but Shikimori wasn't having it. She looked at those things like they were cursed objects, but the moment Izumi told her he really wanted to see her to them, she folded. Instead of the ears, she picked out a demon lord cape and threw it over herself like she was about to perform dark magic. Next up, they strolled to the Sleeping Beauty ride, but when they saw the wait time was 90 minutes. Both of them nearly aged 5 years. However, Izumi turned on that toilet seat level Reese and started running his mouth about the ride. But Shikimori, she didn't even know what the heck the Sleeping Beauty was, surprising him. He asked what her favorite was then, and when she mentioned Ugly Duckling, which happened to be a dark story, he asked that she had a terrible trauma growing up, causing the heck would love that at that age. Izumi then asked if she had any dreams, and Shikimori kicked him emotionally by saying her dream was already fulfilled when she had him as her boyfriend. The crew could have been 5 hours long and they wouldn't have noticed because the two were talking like they had their own anime subplot going on. When they finally got on the ride, Shikimori got enchanted by the tale since she had never seen it before. Meanwhile, Izumi got so bored that he passed out mid-ride. As the prince leaned in for the fairy tale smooch on the princess, Shikimori peeked at her sleeping prince right beside her and tried to copy it, but this silly lady doing her job interrupted them. Afterward, Izumi suggested picking a ride with less katama, but Shikimori was already in her feelings. She told him Thad and he ride was cool with her, and he didn't her riding him like a stallion. They ran off like young yents chasing an ice cream truck, aiding every ride like they had an unlimited park pass. But then the universe decided to throw hands. The fancy dinner reservation Izumi made got nuked because the restaurant fumbled their job. While he thought the whole dinner vibe was done for, the restaurant shockingly put them at a VIP table. Thad looked like Jeff Bezos' personal dining corner, but both of them felt out of place, especially Izumi in his funny-looking jacket that screamed budget trip. When the food finally came, it cooled their nerves. Shikimori locked eyes with him and told him to say what he saw in them. This boy was shaking, but eventually said he saw himself in her eyes, which made Shikimori melt faster than butter in a microwave. Then he reversed it and said all he could see was her and Thad's when she folded beyond repair. After dinner, Izumi asked what else she wanted to do, and Shikimori, feeling frisky, told him she wanted to do what was in the commercial. He replied said yes immediately without even knowing what she meant, and he grabbed her hand thinking it was the holding hand scene. While she thought he was down to kiss her like in the commercial, he suddenly asked where she wanted him to escort her to, making her disappointed. However, she agreed and asked them to go somewhere cool to talk. Then the clueless moron suddenly realized he just fumbled hard. Later they hop on a boat ride to admire the night view, trying to take a cute selfie. But then the power suddenly turning the whole place pitch black. They whipped out their phones for light, and while holding hands, Shikimori kissed his hand. She said it felt like a dream she never wanted to wake up from, where it was just them and the stars. Izumi, now in full main character mode, kissed her cheek and whispered that he loved her and wanted to be with her forever. Power came back on, but Shikimori refused to stop hugging him, clinging to her fantasy like the world was ending. Next day, Inuzuka noticed Izumi looking different, like he had been spiritually re-wronged. Izumi started malfunctioning internally, replaying what happened the night before. Meanwhile, Hakimitsu and Nico cornered Shikimori, like the FBI on a mission. Hakimitsu guessed that Izumi might have kissed her, and Nico lost her mind yelling about being an aunt soon. But when Shikimori finally spilled the deets, they were both disappointed that her idiotic boyfriend only went for her cheek and not her cheeks. Then Shikimori said she just wanted to open her heart more to him, get even closer and build something real for the future. Or whatever the heck she meant by that.